Hello, welcome to my YouTube channel. This is MS Collections. In today's tutorial, we'll be learning how to draft a princess cut bustier. Okay, yeah. So a princess cut bustier is one amongst many type of bustiers that we have in fashion, and this is what we'll be learning in today's tutorial. Thank you for stopping by. If you're new to the channel, kindly subscribe, like, share the video, and drop your comments in the comment section if you have any questions, comments, or compliments. Okay, so I've gone ahead to draft my to mark off half inch at the top of my paper, and for the measurement I'll be using a bust size of 39 inches and an under bust size of 31 inches. So the first thing I did is to mark off my armhole length, and you get your armhole length by dividing your bust measurement by 6 plus 1.5. Okay, so when I did mine, okay, sorry, my bust is 37 inches, not 39 inches. So when I divided 37 inches by 6, I had about 6.1 plus 1.5, and that gave me about 7.6 inches. So the next thing I went to mark off is my half cut. My half cut length is 14 and a half. So I marked off that 14 and a half, and from that point I added 2.5 inch allowance. Okay, now this 2.5 inch allowance ensures that it covers up for all your seam allowance and ensures that your half cut ends at the right position for whatever attachment you may want to have down. Yeah, so the next thing I'm going to do is just to label my markings. So I've labeled seam allowance, half cut, and chest line. The armhole length is my chest line. Now the next thing, I came up by 3.5 inches to mark off my bust point. Now if you have your clients, go ahead and measure their bust point, which is like the center of their bust length. But if you another way for finding it is to come up by 3.5 inches from your half cut. So your half cut minus 3.5 inches will give you your bust point. The next thing I'm doing is to mark off my shoulder plus half inch, which I did at the top. I came here again to mark off my shoulder. My shoulder is 15 inches. You divide it by 2, which is 7.5, and I added half inch to that. Now from that line, I divided the line into 2 to get the midpoint of the line, and then I came out by half inch to create my armhole curve. So I'll be creating two armhole curves. The first one on the line exactly, and the second one is the one that I came out half inch at the midpoint. The first one I marked is for the back, so I left it so that when I'm done I will trim it off and then maintain the other one for the front. So I've marked off my neckline, which should be as desired. Then the next thing is your shoulder slant, which I did here, and I did a little bit of correction here. My shoulder slant, I was supposed to mark my shoulder slant not from the top of the paper but from half inch of the paper. So I went ahead to replace that correction. So can you see, I remarked it from the 1 inch to that half inch at the shoulder line. Then I went up by half inch at both ends and corrected. Now the purpose of that half inch I left is for the shoulder allowance, so that is what I've corrected. Ensure that you add up that half inch at the top to serve as your shoulder joining allowance or your shoulder seam allowance when you are joining. Yes, okay, so guys, this is it. My neckline, I just used 3 by 3 inches, of course, which I'm going to be adjusting later. This is for the pattern, and the neckline is usually as desired. Now the next thing you do is to come to your bust point and mark off your bust wideness. Your bust wideness is from the center of your bust to the other side. So the midpoint of those busts, just take that distance in between those midpoints, and that's it. So for my client, I have that 4 inches, 8 inches divided by 2, whatever you have divided by 2. Then I came off to my half cut and my seam allowance, and I subtracted 1 inch from that bust wideness, and I marked, and I'm going ahead to curve with my curve ruler. Okay, so the next thing now is to connect the line from the bust point to the midpoint of the armhole line. So let me take it again, guys. On your bust points, connect your bust wideness When you measure your bust wideness, whatever you have, divide it by 2 and mark, and then subtract 1 inch and mark on the half cut and seam allowance. Use your curve ruler to connect. Now after that, I came out again at the half cut and seam allowance line. I marked 2 inches, as you can see me in the video, and I'm going ahead to use my curve ruler to connect. Now let me say that when you're connecting from your half cut to your bust point, use the curve part of the ruler. Okay, now that is what helps you to carve out your bust. Now at my armhole line, I went down by 1.5 inch. You can go down by 1 inch or 1.5 inch. That's to eliminate that fold you have at that armhole area. So this clearly eliminates it, tightens it properly. Now you connect from the bust point to that point. Just watch carefully. If there's any point you don't understand, you can just take it back and rewatch, and trust me, you will understand. Now okay, so this is what we have, guys. You can see our bust is already carved out and all the contouring is already done. So at the second line which I made, if we need to extend that line outside, like we need to make it longer, so I added the same 1.5 inch. I added it at the top of the line. That's why I extended that line to reconnect to the armhole. The purpose of this is so that when you cut and you're joining, you will not have any shortages. If you do not make it longer, when you join, you're going to be having shortages which may affect your work. Okay, so guys, I hope we understand at this point. The next thing I'm going to do is to mark off my bust, which is 9.2 inches, and then I'm added 3 inches allowance. Now the 3 inches allowance is going to cover up for all the shortages you see, you know, I have at the bust area. Those spaces you see, we have to replace it at the allowance, okay, so that our dress is not short, it will not have any shortages. So 3 inch allowance will cover up for that perfectly well. And then for the under bust, I marked my under bust, which is 7.7 and 3/4, and then I added 4 inches allowance. I added 2 inches first, and then the next 2 inches, yes, is for the main allowance. Now these 2 inches, you see that I went out by 2 inches, so I needed to replace it. So the allowance for the under bust is more than the allowance I added for the bust. For the bust side, I added 3 inches allowance, but for the under bust, I added 4 inches allowance, because what we took out from the under bust is more than what we took out from that bust area, as you can see in the pattern. Okay, so yeah, so trust me, guys, and this pattern, I forgot to mention, has all the necessary allowances. So when you're cutting on your fabric, you will not need to add allowance. There are patterns that you can cut without the allowance, so that when you're cutting on your fabric, you add all the allowances. But for this particular pattern, if you follow this method, you cut it exact on your fabric without adding any more allowances. So the next thing I'm going ahead to do is to cut everything off. And don't forget, when you're cutting the armhole, cut the wider armhole, okay, yeah, so that after you cut the back, you can now trim it. So I'm going ahead to cut my center piece, and you can see, yes, just watch carefully what I'm doing and go ahead and replicate for your pattern. Now can you see, guys, when I'm done, I'll trim off this side of my pattern. Okay, guys, so go ahead and cut carefully and ensure that you don't cut more than you need to cut. Okay, guys, so if you've come this far, it means you're interested in this video. And just in case you've not subscribed, this is me reminding you to hit the subscribe button, turn on your notification bell so you get notified when I drop new videos, because I always drop amazing content. Okay, this is MS Collection. Feel free to share the videos to anyone whom you know this video might be of help. So we are done cutting the front piece. And just to mention, guys, I did not fold my pattern into two. Yeah, so when you're cutting your fabric, ensure you fold your fabric into two. Now because I did not fold my pattern into two, I just have like half of the front. Okay, so this is it. This is what it looks like. When your fabric is folded into two, you're going to be having the front side is going to be wider, and then you're going to be having two pieces. So you're going to be having like three pieces for the front, and two of the busts, or which is the side piece, and then the center piece will not be divided. And when you open, you're going to be having it, wider. So that is it, guys. Now we are over to cutting the back. And the back is very simple. This is a very simple technique I use when I'm cutting the back. Trust me guys, it's very simple. You don't need to remark any lines. All you have to do, we want to cut the side piece for the back. Okay, so what you're going to do is just to carry the side piece for the front and place on a new paper. Yes, and then as so, then as you can see guys, I went ahead by the side of the back. I replaced half inch. I added half inch to it. Now that half inch is to cover up for any shortages. you know um from experience, I've realized that because of the 1.5 inch we subtracted in the front, is likely to cause shortages in the back when we use this method. So go ahead and replace half to 1 inch, okay, or half inch will do, so that the back will not be having shortages at the side of the back. So just watch carefully how I did it, okay, and go ahead and replace it, and then cut. Now cut the side, cut the base, cut the armhole, and then cut the when you come to the bust area, start cutting that straight line, and when you get to where the bust curves, you're going to stop. Okay, so we have the exact shape for the front piece. Now you bring your center piece, for the back piece rather, you bring your center piece, and then you just carefully bend that bust area. Just carefully fold it in, as you can see me do in the video. Fold it in, because the back piece does not have any bust. Okay, we don't need any bust carving for the back. So guys, when you're done, you can now take out your front side piece. Okay, your front side piece, you can carefully take it out. Make sure it aligns. Yes, don't forget to align your front center piece to the pattern, as you can see me do in the video. Yeah, so place it and make sure it aligns, it's equal, as you see me do. Yes, and then when you get that alignment, it's stopping, it's placed correctly, carefully take out the bust piece or the front side piece, and then cut it out according to this shape. Now can you see this guys? This is very simple. Like I said, just in case you're confused, do well to pause and take the video back and watch again. I try to make the video as simple as possible and step by step, so that there will be no confusions. But if you have any questions, please ask me in the comment section, and we'll see to that. Okay, so now the next thing I want to cut is the back centerpiece. Okay, so all you have to do is just to replace the front centerpiece on your paper, as you can see me do. So just go ahead and replace it, and then make sure you replace it in such a way that you give room for your zipper allowance. I used 1.5 inch zipper allowance, but you can use the zipper allowance that you desire, and then just go ahead and cut the exact shape. Mind you that our bust is still folded. We don't need you cutting that bust carving. Okay, that's just for the front. So go ahead and cut this, as you can see. Yes, and this is it guys, very simple. Create the neckline you want for the front, or for the back rather, the new neckline. I used a depth of 2 inches for the back, so I just went ahead to carve it out, and cut. And trust me guys, that is all about cutting a princess cut bustier. And this is very simple guys. If you follow this method, trust me, you're going to have a great result. Do not forget to trim off the shoulder, the extra armhole curve at the front. That extra half inch, do not forget to trim it off. And this is it guys, we have all our pieces together. I'm just going ahead to label back center piece, that's for BCP. And then I also labeled the back side piece, and for the front as well, I labeled them the side piece and the center piece. Okay, and this is it guys. Now can you see how this is it? Now can you see how this looks? This looks so, it's just so aligned. and you go ahead to cut on your fabric, and you're going to have a great result with all your measurements in place. Okay guys, so I hope we really learned from this tutorial. Thank you for watching. Like I said, this is MS Collections. I always drop amazing content. If you've not turned on your notification bell, kindly do so. And do not forget, I said earlier that this pattern was not folded into two. So when you're cutting it on your fabric, ensure that it is folded into two, and you ensure that your front center piece is not divided, except of course you want to divide it, maybe to insert a zipper or for whatever design you want to make. But if you just want to make it normal, ensure that your front center piece is not divided, every other piece is divided. Okay guys, thank you for watching. See you in my next tutorial. Bye.